Is up, everybody? Welcome to Legends Look Back, proudly part of the Utini Podcast Network. This is a Star Wars books podcast for people who love to stare into the endlessly entertaining void that was the early 2000s Windows Media Player music visualizer. That's a mouthful, Rick. Where we celebrate our rich EU history as well as dive into lesser-known Star Wars classics. I'm your host, Jared Mays, and I'm joined by my legendary co-host, the impeccably dressed as always, Freddie C.
Observation. A lot of meat bags in the chat right now.
I'll tell you what, my autocorrect this week has changed the word meat bags to meatballs.
I'm hungry.
Single time.
Now I want spaghetti.
You know who does love some meat bags and meatballs?
Yeah,
He's not discriminatory. Our producer, Rick Grace.
that's me. I'm here, and I am familiar with KOTOR, of course.
Let's be honest, Rick. You never made it off Terrace, did you, buddy?
Listen, I finally made it to the lower level of Terrace, so we're getting
Oh.
somewhere. We're getting
What is
somewhere.
that? Is that the second level of the whole game?
You know what, Freddie? You know what? That's probably about right. Maybe third, maybe? No, it's probably second.
It depends on how you're counting. Well, we do have a very special guest tonight. This is a big deal to have this particular guest here on Legends Look Back. It's someone that we talk about a lot, but not someone that we get to have on the show very often. Here to make a very special guest, the Ithorian from KOTOR himself.
He offered to, he enjoyed it out, and very good, and he began Bolivia, and now for the
Get out of here, you goggle-eyed freak! You're too ugly for the upper city.
Yeah, go back to where you came from. We don't want your kind up here.
Oh my god, I'm dying. Oh my god. Oh man.
That is
What's
not our
up,
special
nerds?
We do have a special guest. That is the CEO of Utini, the Senate himself, Dr. Corey Helton. Welcome, Corey.
Thank you. That was maybe the best intro that's ever happened to me ever. Thank you so much.
had
We
that
don't
idea
want your
about-
kind here.
Had that
We
idea
don't
about
like
6:30
doctors.
this morning and messaged Rick and said, "Hey, let's do this crazy idea." And he said nothing.
my
So I was
gosh.
like, "Well, I hope you liked my idea."
Oh man, that
But
was good.
That's right, everybody. We've got Corey here to talk about something that's very near and dear to your heart. Corey, tell the good folks what tonight's episode is all about.
Tonight we are talking about one of the greatest moments in video game and Legends history. One of the times in which the two things crossed over so perfectly, and they cross streams like Harry Potter's wands. I don't know where I was going with that.
And
We're talking about KOTOR.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
There you go. Talking about KOTOR tonight, baby. Talking about KOTOR.
Thought it
The
was
last
Ghostbusters,
time I've talked about KOTOR, I was fairly inebriated on Twitch and doing drugs.
right.
Oh man, that was
Yeah,
that
the
was
character
something else.
does adrenal stimulants, is what he's talking about, and that was
is
what
correct.
3-4 years ago. He said, "Doing
That's
them
right.
drugs."
That is back when it was Legends to do drugs regularly. Now
That's
it's
right.
canon because Cal Kestis is, as we all know, very
man.
addicted to
Those
very addicted
stems.
to stems.
Smash
yes.
them. And his little
Oh, man.
enabler droid, man.
Listen, he can stop wwhenever he wants. All right.
He's like, "Hit me, buddy."
Yeah.
Oh,
quickly,
yeah, no.
quickly.
I need it.
That's right. So this is our 20th anniversary episode of Knights of the Old Republic. This is a 2003 video game. Guys, I don't know about you, but when I hear people say, "Oh yeah, 20 years ago," I immediately think, yeah, the 1980s. But no, we're talking about 20 years ago now is 2003. Does that make you feel old or what?
That's very old. I don't like
Yeah.
that one bit. Not at all. Not
Man.
at all.
Yeah, I drive a 2007 car, and it's older than most of the teenagers I work with, so I'm constantly reminded of my age.
There you go. There you
That's
go.
right. That's right. So this is a 2003 D20 role-playing game, first released for PC and the original Xbox. You know what I'm talking about? The kind of Xbox that was the controller was so big that like I don't know how big it is or where I'm going with this analogy, but the controller was quite large.
It was.
Um,
Yeah,
Cumbersome.
that's what
Yeah,
you say.
and
How
right,
big
it's
is it?
RNG. It's an RNG game, so you shoot something, it's gonna give you a certain hit point based off of your stats, right? It's just like an advanced version of your Dungeons and Dragons.
You know, I
Yeah.
did not make that connection at all until I saw that in the show notes, and I was like, "No way, that's a typo."
Yeah.
I looked it up, and I was like, "Okay, all right."
Believe it or not,
So,
for
yeah.
as long as I've been playing role-playing games, Jared was the first to point that out to me, and I could not believe it.
Yeah,
It's true.
What I love is like you'll have a sword, a vibro sword, or a lightsaber, and you're about to fight girl on two fingers in the dueling ring, and I can't say it.
Dueling ring.
Yeah, you're about to fight girl on two fingers, and he'll jump up to do a power slash, and it's like, "Ah!" and he'll
I know.
cleave the guy's. It should cleave the guy's head in two, but instead it's like 2 damage.
I know. Damn it. And he's like, ugh. And then he's like, that's it. Then he's got the knife. He's like, good. It's such the animations in the game are just
The dueling
next
ring.
level. Next
We'll
level.
talk about the
Yeah.
fighting styles later. Of course, this game did win many awards, including the prestigious Game of the Year by IGN, as well as a number of other gaming outlets. It's written by the esteemed Drew Karpyshyn, who would go on to write the Darth Bane trilogy, among other great Legends titles. It was published by BioWare, which would go on to publish Mass Effect. I mean, extremely prestigious publisher and video game writer. It's widely regarded as one of the greatest video games of all time, if not the greatest Star Wars game of all time, which we can talk more about that later. But guys, let's go around the horn here. Why is KOTOR such a beloved game? In your opinion, why do people like this game?
Oh man, that's a good question. I think it was revolutionary at the time it came out. I mean, I remember playing this as a kid, and like I bought it twice when I was a kid. The first time I bought it, I didn't like it at all, and I returned it actually to GameStop. That was back when GameStop had a return policy. Believe it or not, that's how many years ago it was, right? So, I bought it and I returned it, and I remember I got the Jedi Academy game instead, and I played that whole game. And then I decided to pick it up. I was a little older when I picked it up a second time because I didn't get it. I didn't like that it was a turn-based game, like Final Fantasy or something. You know what I mean? Like it's like you have to choose your actions. You can see a queue of your actions coming. It was kind of a different style of game at the time. But it was the first Star Wars game, I think, that really truly let you like be the character you wanted to be, right? Like I think everybody playing games and everybody who watched Star Wars, like we all wanted to either be a Jedi or see what it would be like if you could be the dark side guy, right? And like KOTOR gave you that freedom, I think, to explore, and that just really never been done before. One, in Star Wars, but two, in video games. And your choices mattered in a meaningful way, and there were multiple endings to the game. There were multiple ways to play. Yeah, jump in there, Freddie.
Yeah, I was just saying that was it. I was just looking at a bunch of games from 2003 right now, just trying to get a feel of what was in that era, what games were there. And Corey, you nailed it. It was like Prince of Persia, what is it? Midnight Racing 2. What is that game called? Anyway, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six.
Oh yeah,
the Jack games. Jack 2 came out in 2003, apparently.
Exactly. Max Payne 2.
Yeah.
You have a lot of games which are predestined. You're just playing into it, right? Trying to get to the next level. Where with KOTOR, yeah, you were trying to get to the next level, but you were really in control in how you got there. And I don't know if of any single person that has probably gone through every I guess scenario possible. There's a lot of scenarios. That's the thing, right?
Yeah.
You didn't know where you were going. It felt open world, like thinking about what's the planet where you're with the Sith. You like
Korban.
It's the third planet.
Korban?
Moron, or is it Korban?
It's
Either way,
Korban.
it's like one of the third planets. If there's Dantooine, where you go to be a Jedi, it's the one after that.
Yeah, that third planet.
Korban. It was Korban. And you're talking about the planet
like,
you go to, and the Sith planet is Korban.
Beautiful world, right? There's like a thing flying in the sky. It's open, and even though it was on rails, like it was it's open.
It felt open. It
feels
felt open. There was load screens. This is back in the day where there were load screens. You had to go between doors and there'd be a load screen for like 30 seconds. Then you had to keep going. But it did feel open. Like you had this big open map that had a shadow over it, right? And you had to explore the map and figure it out. And it was just now that's the standard, like for games, right? These big open world games. It's like the normal thing you do. But at the time, that was just like, holy smokes, I get my own ship and a crew and I get to fly whatever planets I want to. And given it was pretty limited still, but it was just nuts at the time that you could
2003. It was where it needed to be.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I think you're making great points about the world building was fantastic. The choosing of the light and dark side choice mechanic was really solid. And there's a lot of micro decisions throughout the game of like, if I lie to try to get the droid for 5,000 credits less, what's that going to mean for like a web of relationships that I have? The other characters, they'll approve or disapprove. And you can actually make decisions where you like kill characters, which is really crazy.
Main characters, like side characters that if you kill them, they're gone for the rest of the game. Like crazy stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love to kill Juhani. Oh, do I ever? All right. Anyway, we'll come back to that.
God, we're going straight to there, huh? All right.
Oh, yeah.
So, Jared, did you play light side or dark side? Yeah.
Light side with a couple of cats buried under the rug, but
there you go.
Rick, you got an opinion on? I know you haven't like played as much of KOTOR as other folks, and that's fine. You tried. What's your opinion on your general impression on why this is such a beloved game?
It would have to be the story. I mean, just the lore that this expands for Sith and Jedi, Mandalorians, Revan. Like all of that is what I hear talked about the most, and what I'm fascinated by. Since I haven't finished the game and it's been like years, I decided that, you know what, I'm not going to let other people spoil it for me, and I'm not going to finish the game anytime soon. So I started doing my own research on, okay, well, what kind of plays out. And I watched a dozen of like YouTube videos. What's funny, and when I realized like how much all you guys said is true, is all those videos try to summarize the game in very different ways. Because of all the different endings or possibilities. And it's like, I'm even more confused now about what this game's about. But man, it sounds like an incredible game, and so I'm excited to dive into it more and kind of live through y'all's experience.
So what is your history with the game, Rick? You played the intro, you played some on Terrace. When was this? How long has it been since you played it?
Recently. Like I missed this game growing up entirely. I remember getting my classic Xbox on Christmas, and the only reason I knew about Xbox or knew about video games was because my neighbors had one and they had Halo. And so Halo was my bread and butter.
Right.
And I remember Christmas Day, I had a Halo, but I also had the Tetris Attack of the Clones combo disc. Both of those games in one disc. It's crazy.
Wow.
And I loved Attack of the Clones, and I was like, oh yeah, this is so cool. But I had no clue there were other Star Wars games. I have no idea how I was ignorant, but just totally missed it. And so it wasn't until probably late high school or college that I heard about it, and didn't really get to play it until like past 3 years probably. So
to be fair, Rick, this was kind of in that era where I feel like if you had the internet often, you might have known about it, right? If you didn't have the internet at all, if you weren't fortunate like some folks, if you didn't read like gamer magazines, you probably didn't know about it.
Yeah. No, I definitely didn't. I definitely didn't know about this. I think my parents bought me this game for Christmas. Is how I ended up getting it. They knew I like Star Wars, and they had bought me I think this was right around the time where they released that special edition VHS set. You remember like the silver and the gold? And you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. This is about the same time. And I had gotten that like either the year before or something like that for Christmas. My parents knew I was
VHS.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I got this Star Wars game for Christmas that year. And I think it was probably more like 2004, actually, 2005, maybe, when I actually played it. It probably wasn't the year that it came out, because you're right, Freddie. If you weren't like in the know, you might have missed this. And I don't know. I was pretty young. 2003. I was 10 in 2003. I was born in 93. So I was a kid.
This came out the same year as Star Wars Galaxies. So you can kind of tell where my attention went.
Yeah, sure. I'm looking at the game list that came out this year. There's an impressive list of games. I spent a lot of time looking at this list. So I mean, this must have been right around the time.
Deep in the console cycle of that particular generation. Sure. This was right when it was hitting its stride. That's for sure. Freddie, I was going to say earlier that this, for me, is probably my Star Wars Galaxies.
Yeah, mine too, for sure.
This might be my favorite Star Wars content ever made.
It's good.
It's right up there for me with the original trilogy and Dark Empire.
Wow.
You know, as A tier, S tier. I mean, untouchable, absolutely beloved. I'm building an entire like KOTOR shelf in my Star Wars room.
Nice.
I mean, that's how much I love this stuff. So I think this one for me is like I saw this was a totally different era, but I saw the case in like Walmart or maybe what was that video game store? Was Babadges? Y'all ever had a Babadges
Badges, huh?
in the mall in Oklahoma? I was in the middle of nowhere.
There's the other one that's not GameStop that's still around. There's a few of them. What's it called?
EB Games.
EB Games. That's
Oh,
it.
man.
I saw the
GameStop
case.
owns them now. I think. Didn't they buy them? I think they did.
I think they did, yeah.
I saw the case for this, and I was like, that looks really scary, but I'm gonna get it. And this was
Nice.
probably how I spent 2 or 3 summers of my life,
Dude, me
mowing
too.
lawns and playing this game.
Yeah, that's
How
fantastic.
about you, Freddie? You played Star Wars Galaxies, but you've played KOTOR.
Yeah, KOTOR was definitely later on down the line after I got like the Star Wars Galaxies thing out of my system, because that was like a full-on MMO, and if it wasn't like if I wasn't spending time in that game making money or doing something else,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I just couldn't see myself playing KOTOR. But I played like 2005, so still a while ago. And I just remember thinking, oh my goodness, this is what Star Wars looked like before all of this stuff that we knew. Like this was a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. And once I figured that, I was hooked. KOTOR was, for the next umpteen years, still here talking about it, obsessed.
I don't know that there has been another, like, how do I phrase this? I don't think a bigger risk has been taken in Star Wars storytelling since KOTOR came
Never.
out, even honestly.
That's
Like,
so
I mean, they went
successful.
20,000 years before everything. There's a ton of Jedi, there's a ton of Sith. They're fighting each other. Like, the Mandalorians are there. There's all these Boba Fett's running around. Like, this is a ton
Yeah.
of risk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
And
it's just
Corey,
totally different. They would never do this now.
What
There's
about
been a
No.
billion
Return of
years.
Palpatine?
here's
That's
the
a risk.
crazy thing
Yeah,
is
it's
ask how many people
that
have played
risky.
it or know or know about KOTOR that dislike it. Like anybody who's like a hater of the
No,
KOTOR.
I don't think
It's
that
very few.
Does that exist? I don't know that exists. I don't think I've ever seen KOTOR hate. Like,
That's
if
what I
that
mean. It was a
happens,
big
like,
risk. But oh my goodness. It
I know of
paid
a lot
off.
of Ricks
Yeah,
who
dude. Yeah.
have tried and
Yeah.
Yeah,
have just
I do
like
too.
gotten stuck.
I
Yeah.
do too. It hasn't
That's-
aged that well, to be honest. It hasn't. I mean, I played this fairly recently, actually. I think I played through KOTOR again, I think 2 years ago, most recently. I played on my phone. I just played it kind of in my downtime, and I spent like a year. I just gradually finished it over like a year, something stupid like that. Like 10 minutes here and there, because I played it so many times. I knew it was going to happen, all this stuff, and it doesn't hold up that well, to be honest. Like, it's an amazing game. The storytelling is unbelievable. It's definitely a product of its era, but like, the game mechanics are, compared to modern gaming, bad.
yeah.
Like, the
Well,
graphics are
yeah.
terrible. Like,
Right.
True.
there
Oh,
are so
yeah.
many. I think, aren't there like three? There's like 3 levels where you're like shooting the turret in the Ebon Hawk, and it's so freaking hard,
Yeah,
like,
that
to
is really
hit
tough.
everything. But
can't
it's the
imagine doing it on
exact
a
it's
phone.
the exact same level. It's the same. The Sith ships are coming in, and like the space
Yeah.
is literally just a replay. They just replayed it. They just like copy pasted it into the later part of the game. It's so stupid. So
And it's basically
Like-
just the turret section from A New Hope.
it is. It is. It is. But the pattern is the same, and like the ships fly around in the same way. It's really bad. Like, I mean, so like, I get it. I get it, Rick. Is what I'm trying to say. I get it. Like,
I want to get through it, man. I want to. It
just watch all the cutscenes on YouTube. That's all you need. That's
No,
all
you
need.
got to play the game. Don't listen to him. But here's the thing: there's been a remake of this announced, and since then, there's also been some drama where the entire studio was fired, and
It's never
Project-
happening.
Yeah.
It's never
we
happening.
don't know.
It's
We
dead.
don't know.
It's dead. It's never
Come
happening. I'll believe it when I see it. Do I
like
want
Nick
that to happen?
Palpatine
Listen,
is rising
would-
from the ashes.
I would genuinely consider giving you one of my fingers to make this happen. Like, that's how much I want this remake to happen. But is it going to? I don't know.
When was it supposed to be released, Jared? Do you remember?
I don't this year, I think,
Sick?
but yeah,
No,
it's
no
not
way.
ready. But hey, we've got a lot more to talk about with this game. Regardless of how you came to it or how well you think it's aged, it does have some, the combat and the graphics absolutely haven't aged especially well. Now, nevertheless, there's a lot about it that we like. So, guys, quickly, when you do your your playthrough of KOTOR, which style of game do you like to play? Do you gravitate toward the light side? Do you go to the dark side? Do you try to walk the gray Jedi fence like a chump? What's your preferred play style?
Gray Jedi. Did this game start the idea of the Gray Jedi?
That's a huge question, and we're gonna do an entire Gray Jedi episode coming up.
Yeah,
soon.
that's
It's
an
gonna get us
interesting
canceled for
question,
sure.
actually. Probably.
I feel like that's a Trevor question. I feel.
Yeah, it is a Trevor
It
question.
definitely popularized it because you could
Yeah.
you use light side and dark side powers. You could
Chaotic
be a
neutral
Jedi
Jedi.
who gets the girl, which is against the rules, and
That's right.
Revan can look at the camera and say, "So what?"
Yeah.
And get the girl anyway.
He's basically a real Averross, so from canon, basically. So
Or
yes,
Cornhorn, you know.
or Cornhorn. That's fair. I always played this game light side, and I always felt guilty if I played dark side. To be straight up, I played it multiple times on both. I played it probably 4 or 5 times on both sides at this point. I think that it's pretty hard to argue that light side is not harder because like all the powers for combat and everything, which the game is a combat game. I mean, like that's like the main thing you do is fight, right? And it's very hard to play as a light side character because all the cool stuff is dark side.
Force
Like
Storm is incredibly
lightning,
overpowered.
storm, yeah,
You
all
raise
that
your
stuff.
you raise your arm in the air, and there's lightning that just kills everybody in the room.
It shoots
That's it.
everybody. Yeah,
That's the move.
yeah, exactly. There's like life drain. You're a life drain. You can literally take their health. Like it's dark side powers. And like, meanwhile, if you play as a Jedi, it's like, oh, I can give my teammates a little shield. It's like,
Right. Their
but
defensive
why?
powers,
Like,
you can speed up. You can throw.
not
You
good.
can throw your
you can't throw lightsaber.
lightsaber. That's a good one. But
That's
yeah,
true.
So do you guys know that there actually
Doesn't-
is like an
doesn't
official
quite compare to
canon?
the Force Storm.
Official what?
There's an official canon side, but like the canon. Okay, I wasn't sure if that was common knowledge or not. I found that in the.
Well, it's canonized through the novel Revan.
Okay,
Hmm.
but also this talks about the canon ending.
Hold on, Rick.
Right.
Put that against the screen there. One of the Legends Look Back Bibles, if you will.
Right.
One of them.
Absolutely,
One of many.
dude. I love
The
this
Essential
book.
Reader's Companion by Pablo Hidalgo.
Phenomenal cover too,
Thick
by the
one.
way. I love that Yoda
Yep.
reading the books. Yeah, so
Mhm.
good.
I want to find that as a poster. Jacob says it exists.
Have an extra.
Do you?
Does it
I
exist?
do.
Of course you do. Of
Extra
course you do.
post-
That's true though.
celebration.
That's an important point to bring up though, Rick, that there is a true canon version. And if you play the game, true canon as in Legends canon, but still,
right. It's
there's
confusing.
if you play the game, like it feels obvious too when you're playing it. Like there's like an ending that feels a little more thought out and a little more clean, and like the other ending, the dark side ending, is like it's very rushed. It feels very sudden. You're like, suddenly I kill everybody and I win, kind of thing. Like it feels
Yeah.
it feels kind of weird. You're like,
Awful, which
"What?
is mine."
That's kind of weird. Like, yeah, like and so it kind of makes sense when you're playing it. I think you're supposed to play as a light side character, but
I gravitate toward the light side as well. I've played a number of dark side playthroughs. I've done the Gray Jedi thing once or twice. Definitely prefer to play as a light side character because of the guilt factor. I don't like to,
kinda the same
other than
way.
Juhani, I kill her
Kinda
every
the same
time.
Griffin the Cat has a good retelling of the story here. Let's see. I'm going to read it here, Rick, once you pop it up. I only played Dark Side Run on KOTOR once since the game came out. Reason on, is it Lehon? Lehon. I used Force. I used the Force to convince Zelbar to kill mission. I've never felt so guilty playing a video game.
Yeah,
I
that's crazy.
remember that was an option. That is not that far into the game either, actually. And it's like, it's like a 30% mark or something crazy. And it's like, well, I could equip that character like 10 minutes ago and now I can't. So
Right.
I guess this is permanent. So
Yeah, that's huge stakes. Mission Veo, of course, the punky Twilight girl, voiced by Kat Tabor, who would go on to voice Padme in the Clone Wars. So
I did not know that.
a real
Yeah.
staple in
Interesting.
Star Wars voice acting world. Freddie, do you have a preferred play style?
I typically do what I need to do. And that
Dark side.
I end up going on both on both sides. I straddle the line a little bit.
There you go.
I tend to really like some of the dark side capabilities, and that's where I end up heading most of the time. But After I play the game, it does make me feel guilty, having to do so much destruction. And I've played light.
It's pretty
Yeah,
brutal.
it gets too brutal to the point where I definitely started playing light side more frequently because it's just woof, the emotions.
Remember when you go to the Sith Academy on Korriban, like as soon as you walk in, there's like this smart mouth like student who's like really mean to you, and you can just instantly kill them, and it just leaves their body on the floor in the hallway. And like if you go and talk and interact with all the people that are still in the room, and this dead body is just laying on the floor, they're like, "Wow, you just really killed that guy. He got what was coming to him." Like it was like, bro, it was pretty brutal, man.
Good job killing him. If you play that level as a Jedi, a light side character, and you go into the Sith Academy and you're like, hey, I'm totally a Sith. They're like, no, you're not. You're a real goody two shoes. And the entire time you're undercover, and you basically just have to lie and be like, ooh, yeah, I'm real evil. I'm evil.
It turns out it's really easy to get into the Sith Academy. I thought that was very jarring. I always remember that being kind of weird. Like I've been a good guy this whole time. They're just going to buy that. I'm like, okay, whatever.
Hey guys, I'm bad now. Oh, actually, I'm Darth Revan.
Exactly.
Speaking of which, that's a big spoiler story point, which we should talk about here. Let's talk about the story with KOTOR. Obviously, there's the big reveal. So spoilers, of course, for one of the biggest plot twists in Star Wars history. We'll come back to that in a second. But the story of KOTOR is really powerful. There's obviously a lot of great world building. There's goofy, clunky combat, but the story's been really enduring in a lot of ways because it does shine light on the gray areas of the galaxy far, far away. Now, guys, in your opinion, what is it that this does the best with as far as shining light on those gray areas? Do you think it's more the fact that the Jedi Council is okay?
All
right.
right.
Hey, the story, gray areas, you get it.
Yeah.
We lost you for a second there, Jared. Yes. I don't know. There's a lot that happens in KOTOR that makes you ask questions. It's easy to have a lot of doubts, I think, about the Jedi sort of philosophy and the Jedi way because of KOTOR, because a lot of the Jedi are really awful to you in this game as you play through it. You know what I mean? Like
Pretentious.
Yes, they're really pretentious. Like it feels kind of jarring, to be honest. And like it feels like why aren't they being helpful? Like they're just sitting around in their council chambers. Like there's all this stuff happening out there. Like it feels weird. Like why am I the one running around and saving the galaxy? Like when the Jedi are sitting here on their ass, it's kind of how it feels a little bit. So it's like it does feel a little iffy.
Yeah. Self-righteous. You said pretentious. I find them self-righteous. The backstory is that Revan and Malak, when the Mandalorian Wars hit, they talked to the Jedi and said, like, hey, we got to stop these guys from conquering the galaxy. And the Jedi Council said no. And so Revan and Malak, they raised up an army of rebel Jedi to go and defeat the Mandalorians. And, the backstory, and they retcon this later, which I don't love, but the original story was they lost their way. They fell into the warfare and the dark side claimed
Jedi's way of putting it. That's not what happened.
How do you
Jedi
see it, Freddie?
failed them is what happened. And you know what, Corey, you brought up such a great point. When you play as your character, right, you feel, knowing Revan's story, you feel that, like, just get up. What are you doing?
Yeah, you do.
Get up. And you just want to throw that little Yoda out the window.
What's that guy's name? Do you remember?
Vrook?
I can't remember either.
I think it's Vrook. Yeah, I think
Is
it might
Vrook? Is it the bald
starts-
guy?
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, I've got
He's
a question. This might be a bit of a rabbit hole.
Uh-huh.
So again, looking up the story elements, looking up Revan's like full story.
Mhm.
Where does KOTOR take place in Revan's whole story? Okay.
KOTOR. It's okay. So chronological order. All right. The Mandalorians declare war on the galaxy.
Okay.
Right. Mandalorian Wars, when they're a big, huge organization, basically declare war on the galaxy. I don't know if they were secretly. I think they were secretly backed by the Sith too. Actually.
Yeah.
Even at the
That's a
beginning.
retcon.
Is that a retcon?
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know if it was either. But anyway, so the Mandalorians declared war in the galaxy. They're Spartans, whatever. A lot of the Jedi kind of rose up. The Republic had an army at the time, and they were fighting, and there was a Republic versus the Mandalorians, and the Jedi they wanted to have like step back, because unlike in the prequels, right, it wasn't like the Jedi had to lead the army. The Republic already had an army, right? So the Jedi at the time sort of chose to just stay on the sidelines. A lot of the Jedi disagreed with that. They're like, this war is happening. People are dying. All this injustice is happening in the galaxy. We should fight. We are warriors. We should fight. So a lot of the Jedi decided to fight against the Mandalorians. Those Jedi were kind of spearheaded by Revan, who was a master, and his apprentice, Malik. Was it Darth? No, is it Malik? Is actually his Jedi name?
Malik was a Jedi. Oh,
Well,
or
was it
so.
That's a Darth Malik. Anyway, all right, before I get sidetracked.
In the comics, it's Alec. So
Okay,
there's actually
Alec.
comics that fill that in,
All right,
which is hilarious.
That's interesting. All right,
Yeah.
so Revan and his apprentice Malik kind of led the Jedi that decided to sort of rebel against the organization to fight against the Mandalorians, and they chased the Mandalorians out to the Outer Rim, and then Revan and Malik disappeared. When Revan and Malik came back, they were suddenly Sith and carrying red lightsabers, and we're like, "What the hell happened?" And all this. Then it became they were leading the Sith against the Republic, basically. So the Mandalorian War sort of transitioned into the Sith versus Republic War, and sometime in that time period when Revan is a Sith and fighting against the Republic, he gets wanged on the head good and has amnesia.
Jedi amnesia.
By Bastila.
By Bastila.
Okay.
And that's the Force visions you get early in the game. And he basically gets kind of captured, and the Jedi do some crazy shit to him to mess with his mind and his memory. And and then they kind of just dump you. I don't know why the Jedi did this. They kind of dumped him into the military, I guess. And he just wakes, and that's where the game starts. You wake up. And you're
that's where you start the game.
Yes, that's where you start the game.
All that backstory.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it is so funny.
So
it's so funny because your character is in the bed and he's rolling around
Explosions.
and everything. And explosions are going off, and he wakes up, and this guy comes in. He's talking to you and everything, and he's like, "What's wrong with you? Don't you remember? You're on the ship. The name of the ship is so and so. Bastila is here. We're fighting against the Sith. Don't you know what the hell is going on?" And you're like, "No."
Who am I?
So
it's very awkward.
So that's where the game starts. But do you learn about the Mandalorian War and all that during the game, in flashbacks? Okay.
Your whole history gets sort of fleshed out as the game goes on by asking lots of questions and that sort of stuff. Yeah. And you can it's honestly kind of hard to piece together the whole Mandalorian War stuff, actually, from the lore of the game. But if you really pay attention and you listen to every piece of dialogue, you can kind of get the whole history.
It really helps to read the books, obviously.
Okay,
good. Yeah, it builds a lot off the Tales of the Jedi comics. Yeah, it builds a lot off that, the backstory. You talk to people in dialogue. And then 2/3 of the way through the game, you get the big reveal. And that is, you don't know this. And I just remember being floored by this my first time through. Though I do think you probably could see it coming if you're smarter than I was as a 12-year-old. Which is, here's the big reveal. Quite possibly the biggest reveal in all of Star Wars outside of the original trilogy. Which is, give me the one, Rick. Give me the one. Ready? You reveal the mask, you pull it back, and you were Revan the whole time.
Okay, Jared.
Yeah.
The first time that was revealed to me, I laughed. And remember, I had to get my balance because I had gone too far. Because it was just seeing, the created face that you made on this thing that you had no idea was going to be you. And I just
Mine was a total dude bro, by the way.
How many hours did you spend on your character selection?
There's only 12 faces, so it could have been that option.
Yeah, my guy's name was Ronan Jast. I remember that much.
Okay. So
nice.
funny.
Yeah. You reveal it. You find out that you were Revan the whole time. It's a huge spoiler. I think it was the first time I ever swore, actually.
Criminy.
So it's a great reveal.
It was a big deal. It was a big deal, and it was shocking. It was done really, really well. Honestly, it's quite frankly impressive that they pulled it off as well as an old of a game as it is. I'm not sure that they could do that as well in modern games. It would get spoiled on Twitter. It would get spoiled on the internet. It was it was a true reveal. Honestly, and I remember being floored by it too. And I was young enough to not really understand it as a kid. I I think I get it, which I'm the guy and the guy, and he kind of, I think I get it, but there was the element of like, I'm not sure if I totally understand that exactly. It was funny though, because the animation was kind of hilarious, because there's a couple like faces that like, that's not Revan. Like, he takes the mask off and you're like, no, I know I chose that character in the character selection, but that's not his face. You know what I mean?
No.
Like,
I would have made him look way cooler.
exactly.
A soul patch or something.
Exactly.
Just
One of the
to go
guys
home.
had the soul patch. One of the
comment,
I see.
yeah.
Yeah.
Rick's in the
So,
chat.
so Rick's by the gray areas of the story. By the way, I'd like to hear your opinion on this. You find out partway through the game that the Jedi brainwashed you. They knocked Revan out, and then instead of killing him or imprisoning him, they were like, well, let's just roll the dice again and see if we can get him to be good this time.
Wasn't
and
that because of Bastilla's protest though? Because she was like, "Don't kill him. Don't imprisonate him. Just wipe his memory."
Might have been.
That's a good question.
Their thought was he's the only one who could take down Malak. And so you as a character, even if you'd started down the light side path, you might be like, that's really messed up, and then turn to the dark side to embrace your Sith destiny. What do you think about the ethics of that choice, Rick?
Yeah,
to brainwash a Sith Lord and hope that he defeats his former sidekick.
He's got amnesia.
I love it as like a plot point. Like, I think it's really good bringing up those like gray area, the ethical dilemma. Man, the Jedi suck though, those jerks. But yeah, I think it's cool. I don't know how to respond to that. I'm excited to get to that point and play.
Well, it does really reveal the fact that there's some real ethical gray areas here. You know what else is an ethical gray area that I think we can all agree on is that Juhani is the worst character in all of Star Wars.
Dude, she sucks.
The Cathar.
Doesn't she have whiskers or something? Like, it looks really weird.
Yeah. She's a Cathar Padawan that Jared just indiscriminately gets rid of right off the bat.
There's a lot of people, actually. This is not that divisive, to be honest. Like, there's a lot of people that really hate Juhani. So I don't think you're alone in that. She's terrible. She's a jerk to you the whole game. Like, every time if she is in any conversation, she's really mean to everybody. It's like,
well, her story is really interesting because she starts off by, you find her on Dantooine. She's killed her own master. She fell to the dark side, and you're tasked with going and investigating. You can either choose to kill her or recruit her or try to reform her. There's a lot of layers to that story. There's some really difficult to unlock dialogue and story path there. I won't get into. I have discovered, however, in some parts of the internet, we're going to get canceled for this real bad. Some parts of the internet, they love Juhani because she was a very early Legends LGBTQ character.
Oh,
I heard that today, actually. I did not know this. Eric shared a video earlier from some unrelated trivia show that he was watching that released this. And I was like, that's actually true. I did not realize that.
So it's going to get us real canceled for saying that we don't like her.
No,
but
she's just an asshole.
Like her. I didn't like her because she was an asshole.
The real question for me, Jared, is do you kill her at the same spot every playthrough, or do you try to see how long it goes?
I don't let her off Dantooine, brother.
I'm not sure if you can. I'm not sure if you can kill her again, other than just in the intro spot.
Okay,
there's like a limited number of characters that you can have, I think, and if you. I don't know if it prevents you from picking up somebody else later on if you killed her. I can't remember, but anyway, she sucks. What I'm trying to say.
Let's Rick, pull up the spreadsheet of all the characters that you can have as your squad, the crew, the Squirtle squad, if you will, on the Ebon Hawk. All right, guys, lightning round here. Quickly, tell us who you get to choose 3. Who are the 3 that you take with you when you go out on an adventure in KOTOR? And also, who do you kill?
This is so easy.
All right,
yeah, dude.
Who is it?
So
who is
easy.
it, Freddie?
Go ahead.
All
Freddie.
right, number 1. I'm taking Zalbar. Okay, Zalbar. I gotta have Zalbar.
I know that one.
Big
Very
Z,
good.
if you will. Big Z.
Who's a good character?
Yeah, Big Z. I like Big Z. And then, of course, the dude that I did it all for the Wookiees. Come on, the Wookiees. Mr. Jolie
what to the
Bindo.
Wookiees exactly?
Oh yeah, Jolie Bindo.
Jolie Bindo. Yeah.
The Jedi. I'll tell you what. I don't like their philosophy.
Yeah. He had to, face his own wife and ended up winning. So
This dude lives on the ground floor of Kashyyyk with the monsters.
Yes.
And he's totally chill.
He's
he vapes,
really
bro.
he's
you
pretty
know he
powerful.
vapes.
Yeah. In game, he is definitely the one I want on my team. He's got AoE attacks. He's pretty strong.
Yeah, he was good.
He was good. Yeah. And then of course, this is I'm just partial to Bastilla. I really like that double bladed lightsaber. Nothing better than it.
Yeah, it's hard not to take her unless you go dark side, in which case most of the game she gripes at you for your dark side decisions.
Yeah.
I know,
All right,
until you seduce her at the end of the game, and then she's suddenly okay with it. I mean, which is pretty weird. It's pretty
complicated.
weird.
Story point. But yeah, there's actually like a fallen Bastila like love corner of the internet that you don't want to Google. Let me just say that much.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
fiction.
Nice. Rick, if you're looking at the character spreadsheet here, you don't even know who everybody is, but you've got a pilot and a Mandalorian and a Twi'lek and a droid and a cat lady. Who would you pick out of these out of this crew?
Oh man,
The guy that looks like you and number 2 right up top.
oh, is that me? Man, I don't know, dude. Like the guy with the lightsaber. Who's that? Is that Malik?
That's Jolie.
That's Jolie.
Okay.
How about
See,
the robot next to him?
See, he
droid.
looks mean. He'd be the guy I'd kill because he looks like he's like pre General Grievous, and so I don't like that guy, man.
He's a good guy. He doesn't approve of the Jedi, so
I'm talking about HK-47, who is one of the
Oh,
most beloved droids in all of Legends.
Yeah.
And he's an early murder droid. There's a lot of murder droids these days in canon,
he's an
but
assassin droid.
he was the OG murder droid.
Nice. Okay.
He has a very characteristic speech pattern, which is really cool.
Query.
Which is referenced a lot.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Disapproving statement. I would prefer to kill them, Master. Right, stuff like that.
Yeah. That's
Exactly.
it.
All right, Corey, who's your crew?
Oh man, I always chose Bastila.
Nice.
She was definitely, one, she's a babe. 2, she had double bladed lightsabers, which was awesome. And I think I usually took Canderous, who was the guy next to her, who's a Mandalorian, but he doesn't wear a helmet, which is a little confusing. But Mandalorian culture, he was a pretty cool character. I sometimes play with Karth, who is the guy above him. Karth Onasi, but he's really whiny for the vast majority of the game. He just whines about his past and how hard it's all been and how his whole family got murdered and how he's not happy about it. Like, I mean, come on, man,
family.
move on, dude. Like, come on. Yeah, he really whines about the whole game, which is really brutal. Mission is actually
no,
he does like to play cards.
That's the next game. That's the other guy.
Mission was pretty good. The droid was useless unless you needed to unlock a door.
So useless.
And no, I could never play with Johanny because she sucks, bro. No.
Some people like to play with the full Jedi squad. So you get Johanny.
Yeah, but
Jolie,
the full
and
Jedi
Bastila.
squad is Bastila and Jolie. You don't need Johanny for that. Right?
Hot
So
take,
you
hot take.
can only take 2. All right, you can kill her and still get by with 2 Jedi. All right.
Yeah, I think I typically take 2 Jedi and then Canderous or HK-47 for ranged attacks. They pepper the battle rifles from the sidelines.
Did you guys ever try to do a range attack playthrough? I did that one time. It's really hard.
It's hard.
It's
I did
really
try.
hard.
I quit.
Yes, it's very
rage
tough.
quit.
It's doable. It's doable. It's very hard to do. You still have to use all the force powers if you want to defeat like the bosses and stuff. Like there's just no way to do it with like it's a very much a melee game, actually.
Yeah. I typically walk in a room and just run right into the thick of it and just mow them down with the double
Force storm like 4 times, and it's over. It's
allow those grenades, take those stems. All right, guys, before we wrap it up tonight, there's so much more we could say about KOTOR. We haven't even had any time to talk about the fact that there's a KOTOR 2, and it's a vast departure from this game, and some folks consider it a superior game. Others despise it. Oh, man, we're not even going to get into that. That'll be a show for another day, and we'll have to get Caleb on. That's his favorite game. Caleb from the Cosmic Force. But for tonight, let's finish it off with just a little bit of discussion about the main character of the game, and that's Revan. Revan is one of the most beloved Star Wars characters of all time, and I'm curious, in your opinion, why is that? I think there's a few competing reasons. One, there's the gray Jedi cool factor, right? If he's a good guy, but he abandons the Jedi, and then he's a Sith Lord, and then he's reformed, and then he kind of walks the middle path, and you can choose to seduce Bastila, but still be a Jedi, and it's complicated. 2, I think there's a wish fulfillment. element to this of you are this character, you imprint, no matter your race, ethnicity, your gender, you can be Revan. You can take off that mask, it could be anybody, it could be a Twi'lek, it doesn't matter. Who is Revan? It's you. And then there's also just the cool mask. I just wonder how much do people love Revan because he's got a cool mask. What do you think? In your opinion, why is there so much fan love for Revan?
I honestly think you've nailed it. Honestly, like I mean,
it's hard. Yeah, you've said a lot.
yeah. That's most of the big stuff. I mean, I think his story is genuinely really, really cool. Like the idea that this war could be going on, and like the Jedi are like weirdly okay with sitting on the sidelines, and people with genuine combat training and like, you know, they're supposed to be the protectors of peace and everything. Like peace is obviously not happening when the galaxy's at war, right? Like how can we just stay on the sidelines? Like, so there's sort of a hero factor, I think, for Revan. Like maybe he like had good intentions originally, right? And like that's fantastic, honestly. Like just the story of him leaving the Jedi Order to go fight the Mandalorians is really cool. And then how it concludes is also fantastic. Like he went too far, right? He became like his own worst enemy in that the Jedi were maybe right a little bit. Like he kind of fell to the dark side because of that. Also, he defeated Mandalore and took his mask, and that's whose mask that is, by the way, which is awesome.
He picks it up.
That's probably the best part of the book. The Revan book is the quest to find the mask. I love that chapter. It might be my favorite thing in the whole book. Yeah, it's a great point. The mask. Can't argue with that mask. Actually, I still would like to get my hands on one and mount it in my collection somewhere.
Oh, that would be cool. That'd be cool.
We'll see.
Yeah.
All right, Rick, you don't know a ton about all of this. So an outsider's point of view, Rick, is looking at Revan from the outside in. Oh, you've even got the action figure, Rick.
He's just cool looking. I mean, from the outside, he's cool and he's very hyped up. Everybody talks about Revan. And so there's big hype, but now that I know some about him, I'd say like his story's pretty cool. Like you guys have said, you know, he's dynamic, very dynamic.
Yeah.
Good mask, good story. Freddie?
What else? I mean, I think we get a first look, in my opinion, we get a glimpse of it in the Clone Wars, but or the prequels rather, but in my opinion, you really get to feel what it's like to be helpless, with the Jedi not doing what they should be, in my opinion, which is protecting those that need protecting, right? And that's what Revan stood for. He wanted to protect those that needed the protection, and of course, it goes to say like his curiosity just took him too far. Him and his apprentice Alec, formerly known as Alec, now Malik. You wouldn't know the guy, totally different. But seeing
Freddie,
this
I'd like
journey,
to think that Alex, before he turned to the dark side, was actually that Revan cosplayer we saw at Celebration.
Oh yeah,
who got really tired and whiny.
He's like, oh man, yeah. So
Malik stole his girl.
You kind of get this like center point of view, in my opinion, with where Revan went, why he went there, and you get to see why he was also on the other side and how easy it was to get lost, and just it's like an exponential dive, right, Corey? Almost like discovering the dark side, then you just fall. There's like an event horizon, and he crossed it, and having that story, because for Anakin, right, we kind of see the whole thing. We see his darkness, but it was different for Revan for some reason. And he had a wife too, so it like just broke a lot of boundaries.
It did.
And that's exactly what Revan did.
Yeah. I think it's a fun and interesting question to ponder. I think is like, because there's a lot of themes here that are very relevant with like modern storytelling with the prequels and the Clone Wars TV show, is like this idea of the effect of war on the Jedi philosophy. I think is a very fascinating question. And like, I think it's one of the reasons I've always loved the KOTOR games, because that's what they were trying to get at, like with the Clone Wars, I think, is that idea. But like, it kind of feels like Palpatine forced it with the Clone Wars, but with the KOTOR games, it was like the Jedi kind of did it themselves because they genuinely fought against this thing against their will a little bit. So I don't know. It's an interesting question to ponder, I believe.
Yeah. But there's so much about this game, the way that it explores the the darker sides of the Force and the politics of the galaxy. That's really great. So if you're out there and you're thinking like, maybe I should give this a try, there's a variety of ways to pick up the game. It's on Steam. There's sales on it all the time. You can find it on pretty much all modern consoles. I know it's out on the Nintendo Switch. It was ported recently a couple of years ago by Aspire. We're of course waiting on supposedly, theoretically, one of these days a remake, but don't hold your breath. Of course, it's on iOS as well, as Corey said earlier. Go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, I think that's probably part of the reason why I've struggled to get far is because my first experience, I think, was playing on my phone, and I was like trying to tap and move the character. Just was really confusing. I play it on Switch now, so like it's a little better, but it's one of those like how many times I have to buy the game before I finish it. But
well, Rick,
it's only $4, so maybe a few more times.
Yeah, that's right. A few more. I do have to one up you, Rick. You're always one upping me. You had your Black Series, but I've got not one, but two Funko Pops.
Oh
yeah,
man,
bad boys.
Nice.
Light side and dark side, Revan. In fact, if you want to get your hands on some more KOTOR merch, just today, this very day, the day that we are going live here on the show, there was an announcement that there are 2 new KOTOR-related vintage collection figures announced from Hasbro coming down the pipeline. Jedi Revan and HK-47. So congratulations, meatbags. You too can own a murder droid. Well, one of the big questions that we've had going around the show for years now is fan casting. If there was ever, a live action film.
So easy.
Freddie, why is this easy?
There's only one person in this entire universe that can play Revan.
Anybody can be Revan. It doesn't matter who Revan is.
There's only one. There's only one.
But there's only one person where you take the mask off. You know what I mean? You're not like, no, that's not him. You know what I mean?
You got Freddie.
And his name starts with a J. I don't know. Sometimes a K, depending on what movie you're watching, or an N. It's Neo, John Wick. Keanu Reeves is who plays Revan.
That's a good choice. I'm not gonna lie. I can't tell if this is a
got
meme or not, for Freddie.
Our audio listeners. We have an image here.
That is
of Keanu Reeves Revan. Freddie? What if I told you that the entire internet is in agreement with you? Just Google Keanu Reeves Revan, and there will be no fewer than 1,000 images of people photoshopping this sucker's face under that mask.
Wow. Yeah. So Corey, I always fan cast Keanu Reeves and everything because I just feel like he can play whatever role. If it's Bastilla, you could probably put Keanu Reeves in there too. But the fact that I said it and they had this queued up, that was good. That was really good.
That is pretty good.
So, Corey, thanks for joining us for the show. It's been fun to have you. Fun to talk KOTOR, and for playing along with the Ithorian gag. And Rick,
that's fantastic.
Rick, keep us updated on your playthrough.
I will. I gotta finish the Jedi Survivor still. I'm just behind on games. We'll get there. So
yeah. I haven't even touched that one. So I'll come visit and we'll play that one, and then you come visit and we'll play KOTOR. Stay up all night.
Sweet.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen. But you know what is gonna happen? Our next roundtable, and that is what is it called? Spectre of the Past.
Oh yeah, that one. That's a good one.
Spectre of the Past. Our next roundtable. It's either going to come up next week, or if we don't finish, it'll be the week after that, because it's Legends and it's not going anywhere.
Ready for a hot take?
What?
I think iJedi is better.
And that does it for our show tonight.
We're not talking about iJedi, Rick. You don't bring me on your show and then we talk about iJedi. We're not doing that. All right, we're not doing that.
That does it for this week. Thanks for joining us for Legends Look Back. Thank you to our patrons for your support, especially to Brian Drewley, Earl Q, Carl Sanders, Zach W, Michael Fry, and Raymond Bazinski on our Jedi High Council, as well as James T, Ashley Ingalls, Colton 5, Chris Carrizo, and Sally and Chris Eilerson on our Alliance High Command for their amazing support. Remember to sub to the channel, leave us a review on your podcast platform of choice. Hit that like button, ring that bell, all that good stuff, and help some other folks find the show just like you did. If you'd like your thoughts read on the show, our contact information can be found in the description. We're also on the platform formerly known as Twitter at Legends Look Back. Remember to keep the Utini fan code and be a force for positivity in the fandom. May the force be with you, meatbags.